That was the big thing that kind of opened my eyes. It helped me mature a lot. Before that, it was hard for me to let things go. I felt like I was very like opinionated. I'm like, these are my opinions, and if you don't
Right.
agree, you're wrong. And just kind of struggled with commitment a lot and stuff like that. And then I feel like I'm like I stop and think. I'm like, if I didn't move here, that wouldn't have happened. But then I'm like, okay, but if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. This wouldn't have happened, and maybe I'd be here, maybe I'd be there. So it's every step that I've taken while being here, I'm very grateful for it because I feel like it has helped me open a lot of doors or helped me realize a lot about myself. And I'm very happy I got to start here wrestling. I'm very happy that like I got to learn under Pops and I got to spend like 4 years at AAPW and get to drive all around Texas and just like meet so many people.
I will say this up front. Yeah, my lights are out, so if it looks dark, there is a reason for that. Yeah, Blue, we haven't talked in person for in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Because like we talk, we talk so much about just like life in general. We'll have the wrestling down the line. And how long have you been in Texas since moving out?
um July would be 7 years.
Oh
I
wow.
think so. I came here July 2018, like a little like 3 weeks after I graduated high school,
Hmm.
and then I just kind of stuck around.
Like, what was the motivating factor? Because I mean, New York is still nice. It's still the place to be, but to go out, just going to Austin, to out of all the cities in Texas, like what was the motivating factor? So I was saying, you know what, I'll be here. I'll plant my flag here in Austin.
So I grew up watching Rooster Teeth, and I really liked them a lot, and I kind of always was like, man, I would love to have a job like that. And my cousin, she told me that I would really like Austin because it's a young city. So I just wasn't very happy in New York. I kind of felt like my life was very stagnant. I didn't really, I felt like I didn't really have a lot of opportunity in my
Right.
town at the time. And I was like, you know what? I'm graduating, I'm going to college. Worst thing is, like, I move, I go away for college, and I don't like it, and I come back.
Mm.
But I came to visit in May of 2018 to like do like a tour, and I was like, oh, this place is super cool, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and then I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, because I'm in that front too. Because I moved here in Austin during the pandemic, out of all places. It's just like
What a time!
that's called a lesson for a reason. But I was in that point too where I worked in Manhattan. Like, I thought that
Oh,
was the place
really?
to be too, and I was like, man, this is great. But then public. I think it was the commute that was kind
Yeah.
of like the thing that held me back, because there was a moment when I was taking the train and it felt like a sardine can. And I was like, that's it. I'm out. I'm walking away. So that was like when everything started to loosen, out of all the moments of saying, you know what, I'm out. And where were you from originally, though, in New York?
Oh, I grew up in Long Island.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
like Nassau County.
Okay.
So like
So you're
30
still
minutes.
accessible to Manhattan, too.
Yeah, it was like a 30-minute train ride to like get to Penn Station. I think it's like an hour. Like so I wasn't very far. I would go towards the end of like high school. I would go there a lot to just kind of walk around and hang out with friends a lot.
Yeah, because I think when you moved into was there like a culture shock, at least just moving into Austin, or you were just like ready to go?
Man, when I moved, it took me a while for how nice everyone is and how they like how people just approach you here.
Yeah.
It felt very weird. I felt like
Oh,
for a while when people were talking to me, I felt like they had like some ulterior motive or
that
something.
I'm in that
I,
front too.
I was waiting for someone to like stop talking to me and be like, "All right, so you want to buy some drugs?" Because like that's just how it would be in New York. Like I was in like high school one time and I was just talking to a dude like, so like you want to buy Xanax? I was like, no, I'm okay.
No, you're good. Because I think that was like my first impression. Because like it's like they're genuine. They're genuine about conversation. I think we're both in the front of like, okay, what's the catch? What's gonna
Yeah.
happen? Is there a car salesman that you're gonna pitch over to me? And it's like, okay,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
like, what do you want? Like, please, like, just throw it out there right away. Like, because I did get stuck one time downtown. I was saw someone with a dog. I didn't know they were homeless. I'm like petting his dog, and then at the end he's like, yeah, like, you have some money for food. I was like,
Red
man,
flag, red
how?
flag.
I was like, how dare you catch me like this? I was like, that's not fair.
In my moment of weakness for about 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'm like, you have a dog, bro. That wasn't fair. That wasn't cool.
Yeah, because like, what was so special? I mean, you've moved a little bit longer than I have, and throughout that time, what's special about Austin over the years?
Man, I've always been attracted to like the like art that you see here.
Right.
I loved like walking down South Congress and they have that store where it's just like local art that they sell like t-shirts and stuff like that of just
Yeah.
like people around the area. I actually on my wall have like this really cool like Star Wars drawing that someone made and then like
Hmm.
printed out and like it's the only time I spent like a lot of money on like a piece of art. I still haven't. I
It's
carry it.
cheaper here. It would surprise me.
Oh my god, yeah.
Compared to New York, it's like, you know what?
You're like, I'm not doing it. And God forbid you have someone on the side of the street who's like selling something. And you're like, oh crap, never mind. But
It's like, no thanks, to walk away.
yeah, I think just like people were like just so genuine here, and at the time I just was not having a good time in New York, and
Right.
I just really felt like I didn't have friends. And within like my first year, I was like, oh, these are some of the most genuine people I've met, and
Oh.
that kind of helped me like keep going. Even after like when I even during my accident or like when I stopped going to college or when I started doing wrestling, I was like, man, people are just like different here, and it was the first time I really felt like I could like talk to people and just express like how I was feeling without like getting any judgment or anything like that.
Yeah, because I was thinking I mean, that's how like I'm understanding Texas. It just takes a while for me because I think we're both in the East Coast, so that mentality of like we tend to shell up, we tend to like
Yeah,
really turtle up when things happen, and I think it was Pops. Pops was the one that's kind of like that kind of opened my eyes a little bit on how Texas is in certain parts of living here, especially in Austin. I really didn't expect. Pops has always been like he's always like really nitty gritty tough. Like he's always kind of this tough dude, but like having conversations with him
yeah,
was
he
kind of
cares.
like, yeah, he does. And it just I think when I ring announced at the time, and it's like, man, like yeah, Pops is a real one, and like because it's weird, and especially in wrestling. Like I know we kind of talked that length. It's already in the news with the accident, and you're all over, like local news stations. Like we're not going to talk about that, but like rather, where did wrestling kind of come from that accident?
I so that kind of happened. Uh, I took a year to recover,
Okay.
and then so the accident happened in 2019, and then in 2021 is when I finally was like, I asked Max Mayhem, I was like, is there any school around here? Like, I was like, is there? Because I feel like I asked him like once or twice, but I never like really asked, and I was like, hey man, like I just really want to do this, especially after this happened to me, and like kind of realizing um just after that how much I could really like take physically. I was like, okay, I think I can do this, and finally was getting everything back and knowing what it's like to lose like pretty much everything, from just
Hmm.
basic functions and stuff like that, to then getting it back and being like, okay, I don't want to waste my life anymore.
Right.
So I signed up, And I was actually scared to tell Pops about what happened at first. I didn't tell him until we had Spectrum coming, and they were like looking for some inspiring stories. And I alluded to stuff. I was like, "Oh, I have metal in my pelvis." I was like, I don't have the best lungs, and he was like, "That's fine, that's whatever," because I was scared that he would hear that and he would be like, "No, it's not. This probably isn't for you. It's probably not safe for you." Like I was really worried that he would turn me away, and like even after he found out, he still was not like, he was concerned, he was worried, he was like, like you might get arthritis later on in your life or something like that. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, probably. But he never told me to like stop or anything, and like nobody treated me differently.
Right.
So I think just kind of finding out, just getting better and being like, oh, I feel the best I ever have. And I always wanted to do wrestling since I was 6, and I was like, you know what? And I toured the school, and I really liked it. And I was like, man, this seems like a really cool thing to do, and it just kind of kept going from there.
Because it's fascinating to see, like, because if I was in that position, I'd be like, nah, okay, I'm just gonna walk away. But what did Pop see in you when you're starting to train? Did he ever say that, or you're like, he's just with you 100% of the way, just at least getting through training?
Um, nobody ever went easy on me. Nobody
Okay.
ever like, and that's another reason I didn't tell anyone, because I didn't want that pity. I didn't want that whole like, can you do this? Can you not do this? And I never had that conversation with him. It was like, what does he see in me? But just knowing that like he never treated me any differently. He yelled at
Right.
me the same way as everyone else, or he would compliment me the same way, and it just kind of having that was nice. And we joke about it. Like we would make jokes about the accident, which always helped me kind of not be sad about it.
Right.
So honestly, it was never really like, oh, I don't think you can do this. I never got treated any different way than anyone else, and it was nice. And even still to this day, it's like, I feel like nobody looks at me and is like, "Ooh, I'm scared to do this to him," or "I'm scared to do that
Hmm.
to him," because of what has happened. So that was always nice to have.
And you can see, like, and Pops always says this, no matter no matter what the circumstances, because like he's been through a lot and he succeeded a lot in what he's done in the scene, and he's just really passing on the knowledge that he's had to you, like when you graduated and doing the, because I've seen a lot of the graduation matches, and that was going through hell, but to get out of it and getting that certificate and saying, hey, I am a professional wrestler, that must have been a payoff and just overcoming a lot of obstacles, isn't it?
Yeah, it was, because you know it's coming when you sign up, but you never realize how quick it's coming.
Right.
And I remember it was like July, um, probably July 2022, and he finally told me, he's like, "I'm gonna graduate you." And I was like, I was like, "Oh crap."
Wait, that sounds hesitant at first.
You're like, "Oh man." You're like, "All right, cool," but then it's like, because I've been in some of them before that, and I was like, "All right, it's gonna suck." you
At that
know
point, you're like, all right, I might as well just throw myself in the ringer at that point.
Yeah, you're like, all right, but I think I ended up going like 53 minutes. And I remember at like number 9, I took a big swing from Chris
Oh.
Black. And I remember just like the first 5, I was like, all right, all right, I'm cool. And then I took that big swing, and I was like, and he put me in sharpshooter. I'm like reaching for the ropes, and they're like, get your ropes. I'm like, I'm trying. I'm like reaching out, and like it's all moving like that. And I'm like, oh man. And then it just goes on from there. And it's oh my god. The first time I ever took an electric chair was in that match, was in that gauntlet fighting
Oh.
Zeke, and I was like so out of it. Took like a suplex. I just got suplex for like a minute straight, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, I'm gonna die. Like it just every time I landed, I was like, shit. I was like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going.
Right.
And it's like it's really all you can do is just keep standing up. Like no matter where your cardio's at, eventually like it gets to that one person where you're just like, I'm dying.
But by the time that final bell rang and it's over, and how many participants that you've gone through and hearing them cheer saying you did it, that must have been crazy. But of course you were like, ow, my back, I can't pull my leg.
I lost my shirt. I lost my elbow pads. My knee pads were like at my ankles. Yeah, I was just like, I was just happy I could stand. And then like, that first sip of water, like, oh my God.
It's like it's worth it. Just burn it off.
It was so nice to just like kind of have everyone there and, just have my friends there for it too meant a lot to me. And to just, yeah, to just have everyone there for you. Cause it's a, like it's something everyone goes through, but still it's nice that people still come and
Right.
no matter how many times they do it, they still come and they cheer you on no matter who you are. And it's like they just want to see you get through it. Nobody wants to see you fail in that, and that's always really nice. And it's such a relief once it's over. You're like, I can sit down. You're like, okay, all right. You're like, let me get my picture and let me go lay down. And just, oh my god. And but it was great. I don't remember like a good chunk of it.
You were on adrenaline. That's what it means. Your
Yeah.
body was just on fight or flight, and you're like, you know what? Just go through the gauntlet, get it done. And how long was the recovery? I'm very curious if that ever was a thing.
Oh god. I think I was sore for like a week, but I had
Oh,
I think I had a show. I think it was Inspire was doing shows on Thursdays at the time still. So I think I had Inspire the next day. And then I showed up to class, and then I had a casket match that Saturday at AAPW. It was the first one ever. Um, and then I think I had a show after that too. And then I came in Monday, and then Tuesday I was like, oh my god! I was like, I finally get to just lay down and relax.
not do anything. Just take your load off and just like unwind.
Yeah, it felt so good to just not have anything to do. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do nothing today.
Because I think you've done most of your reps in as a ref. Is that right?
Yeah, I've done in Texas. I think that's like more what I'm known for at the moment.
Okay.
Slowly trying to change it, but yeah, like that's what I've been doing mostly, and
Yeah.
it's been fun. I never thought I would come in and like referee, and I never thought about the process of that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten me to go to a lot of cool places, meet a lot of cool people, and like ref some like really fun matches. So like I'm always grateful for that, and it was I feel like I got thrown into it pretty deep, so I got to
Okay.
kind of had to learn quickly, and I felt like that really helped me. So it definitely it's been a lot of fun to like
Yeah,
to do
because
that.
what's cool too is I see some of those matches too, and I really didn't like I didn't really get a deeper understanding of it, because I think the first show I was at an Inspire show like a couple years ago, and it's like, wow, and it's like, okay, and I think I forgot the match. I'm not sure what the match was, and you got a ref bump, and I'm like, oh, there he goes, he's gone. All right, what's gonna happen? I have to remember. I'll have to find the match, but
Oh my
like
god.
to see like at least refing does have its part in the
Yeah.
match. And what's fascinating too is, I mean, you've done matches too. It's just it's not as sparse as what you're doing in as a referee, I think. And if you've listened to this podcast too, for the ones who are listening and who are watching, like um Blue did an episode that was a work episode. I was not. It was half work, half shoot because like we kind of went into into like what the match leading to with Chase in the Summer Spectacular. Um, let's run that because I think when we
Yeah.
were doing the episode, you can listen to it too. It's under another name, so it's going to be on that episode for those who are listening to it. When having that conversation with you, because like what was going through your mind? Because I was watching it and I'm like, okay, I think Blue has do you're doing both the work and the shoot. Did it take time for you to like really blur the lines when we were doing that episode?
Um, man, I was so nervous at first
Oh,
because
okay,
I
it's
was
fine.
I was
I'm
so
I'm nervous right now, so we're all doing the same boat.
when I was like told like because the whole make Pound Town great again, that was Pops's idea, and I was so nervous at first because I was like, all right, like that could be kind of dicey to kind of do a play on words of that, and I was like, I didn't want people to like be like upset by it, and so it
It's
kind of took
character. I
me,
mean, it's character work. I mean, that's at the end of it
yeah.
too.
So it took me once I got past that, and I was like, okay, like no one's thinking of it like that. I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay, cool. It was like definitely easy, and I'm not too sharp on politics, so I was like trying to learn like how to speak like a politician and stuff was
Yeah.
like difficult, and but I was like, you know what? Anytime we had a debate, like me and Chase, I was like, my plan was just make it hectic. Let's just make it like mean and insulting, and like 'cause that's kind of how
That's what heels are. That's what it is.
and that's kind of how it was like it was like at the time, but it just it's fun to just kind of unload and just kind of not have to worry and just be like, I'm just gonna say this and I hope you don't like it, and then like you hear the boos and you're like, hell
You
yeah.
did your part. No, because like I was reading that, listening back to that episode, you did not mince words, and that was the one thing that I find amazing about how you're doing things in the ring is like you tell it like it is. I mean, that's both our upbringings in the East Coast, and honesty is blunt, but at least you got the message across.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
No,
No, and good.
that's some of the most fun I've had. You know, doing the unpoundables and then going into the Mayor of Pound Town stuff and filming those skits was some of the most fun I ever got to do, and that's one of my favorite matches. That pole on a pole match, and just
Yeah.
I hated that mustache though. But I was like, I'm here, I'm in it. We gotta. It would not connect here. So no matter
Yeah.
how much I would shave it and just leave this alone, it would not connect. And people were like, "That's a shitty mustache," and I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna." The fact that it looked bad, I was like, "That makes it better."
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, and that's the only thing as a heel is it doesn't matter what you like. It's the reaction that
Yeah,
the audience got out of it. So when I was watching, as I was announcing that time too, I was watching how you debate. You were like, I don't give a about what you're saying. I don't, and it's like, and it's one of those things where like it really like polished over time leading up to that pull on a pole match because I was like, you're getting into character in a heartbeat, and you're like, okay, let's roll with it.
yeah. It was weird because I before all that stuff, I kind of was struggling trying to figure out like who am I,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to understand like the gimmicks, and because that was the first time I ever really kind of was given something. And I think like when you're a heel, it becomes so much easier because you're just like, okay, like somehow it's so much easier to be mean than to be nice.
It's not that hard. You just need one flick of anything insulting, and the audience will be like, "Hey!"
Yeah, and Pops was a big help with that. We would do a segment and I'd come back and I'd be like, how was that? And he would be like, you need to he would always be like, you gotta say more, like you gotta find a vocabulary, and he's like, you gotta really you got to show like emotion. You really got to show more.
Mm.
And sometimes you're like, okay, you're like, all right. And then I feel like watching back helped a lot too, um, and getting to see it, and then just trying something new every time I went out there, and just kind of finding ways to tweak it to just make it perfect. Um, and it also helped because it was, we're fighting over the mayor of Pound Town, something just so not serious at all, and we're trying to make it seem like this really big important thing.
It was like for a span of time, and the skits that you've done over that Mayor of Pound Town arc, like people were looking, they were paying attention, and that's the only thing that you can get is if you got something out of it. You're like, you know what? I let's just take what we got, run with it, and then let the match do its thing.
Yeah, my favorite is in that match when right after I pants Chase, you can hear everybody in the sound in the production area like start laughing. Um, Now my cat's on the screen to say hello.
Cameo.
He loves to come interrupt me every time I'm up here. But it was cool like listening back to that and hearing everybody in the background, and you're like, oh man, you're like, okay, it's working. Like people are liking this. Come here, buddy.
What was the one thing you took out of that entire? Oh, what is their name?
This is Duke.
Duke.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to say. He's like, sir, I need your attention for the next few minutes.
I put a I put a cat tree next to the computer to think that would help, and it doesn't help.
What was like looking back at that match too? What were some of those lessons that you've done? Ever since doing the pole on a pole match.
Man, just have fun with it, and
Okay, that's good.
just let people, let because I was just like a big combination of like a bunch of ideas for like me and Chase and Vert Vixen. Actually, she helped agent that match, and she
Okay,
helped us like tweak things, and she threw in some ideas, and then just to be okay with letting other people like come in and be like, what if you try this? What if you try that?
yeah,
Because we had a lot. We were trying not to do like we had so much planned, but in reality, we were like, all right. So we wanted water guns, we wanted silly string. I was trying to find to see if they made those horse on a stick toys, but like
that would have
as
worked. Honestly, that would have worked.
I wanted one that was like an elephant and one that was like a donkey, and I was like, there's unicorns and lizards and horses. I was like, that's all there is for those. Um, but yeah, just letting like, man, just like really getting to sit down with somebody and just letting all these ideas come out and just being like
Right.
not saying no and just trying to figure out like, okay, like where can we put this, where can we put that. Like I really think like we could have taken like it ended when it needed to end, but we had so many
Right.
ideas that we could have kept it going for so long. Like, it seemed like every day we had something new that we wanted to try to do.
And because you've besides that too, because I think you've done some time in New York as a wrestler, and I think we talked about it on the episode, but let's pull the curtain back a little bit. Man, what was the name of that faction again that endorsed so much? I forgot the name of it.
Uh,
Full blooded Italians. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
the
that's what it was.
FBI, yeah.
Where did that come from?
So that's so the full blooded Italians originally started in ECW with like little Guido, and um it's still going. Um so my brother, they put him in the full blooded Italians with CJ Bambino and Nikki and Little Guido.
Oh,
Um and so I was like, you know what, we got these, kind of mafia kind of people. I was like, it'd be funny. I was like, let's have them endorse me. Because it's my brother and CJ in the video. And
oh,
so I was never in the group, but as like a favor, they gave me a little endorsement. Which, probably not the best people to have endorse you, but
No, I mean, in terms of how the story is. It's it's needed, and that adds to me because I'm sure there's some fans that are like, "Hey, I remember Lil Guido. What is it?" And to have just like the wrestling history
Yeah.
of them being in your endorsement, that would have at least gave you a pop. Like, okay, it's it's these guys from New York.
Yeah, and it's always such a good time going there and seeing all those people again. And yeah, like getting those endorsement videos together was fun. Um, yeah, it was man, it was such a good time. I forget how long ago that was now. You know,
Yeah, that was less than a year. That was yeah, that was July, I believe.
that felt like just a few months ago, but it's like also at the same time it feels so far away.
Yeah, when you look back, it feels like yesterday. That's what's even worse. It's like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I remember this like it was. And like you've worked in New York too. I mean, besides just endorsement, to go back to New York to at least work, work the crowds there. Um, you think it's a full circle moment coming back into New York after the pole on a pole match?
Yeah. So the when I was 15, so the company I worked for when I went down there last is a New York Wrestling Connection,
Mm,
NYWC, and I would do ring crew for them when I was 15. Me and my brother would go. So
oh,
before I even was in the business or anything like that, I would just go. I would sweep the floors. I would sit up chairs. I would
okay.
beg to just get in the ring. Um, and so to finally get to go back and to get to work for them and to get to wrestle on their shows is like has been a really big thing for me because that was my wrestling, like my indie wrestling when I grew up. By the time I found out what indie wrestling was, until I moved, like I would just go there and I would just help out, and to finally get to be on that show and to actually be a part of it was like it was very surreal to me.
Because I'm sure a lot of your training is in Texas. Like,
Oh yeah.
did it translate well? Because New York will have its own flavor of wrestling. Like, did a lot of your training from APW help translate that into something easy working with NYCC?
Oh, definitely. It definitely helped out a lot. You know, I was only 8 months in when I first stopped there to like visit. Because every time I go visit family, I would I would always stop there and go train with my brother.
Okay.
Going back to NYWC and like getting to actually help out with the shows and train and get to roll around with these people that I've been watching for like a while has been really like really weird and like but in like a good way. And again, I got to meet a lot of great people through like going there. And yeah, like I would like all of my training has been with AAPW. I've been to New York the longest. It's usually I'm either there for like a week, longest like
Okay.
3 weeks. So you know, like I try to get in there and roll around with everyone as much as I can. Um, but yeah, everything I've done at AAPW has like really helped me out. Branching out to other schools, and you know, I feel like the thing they look for the most is your fundamentals, and that's one of the things that was pointed out when I went there. You know, they were that's you know like because every moves can be done differently. You know, they call things different. You know, like the international. I think is called like the universal there, and you know the way they'll grab for a hip toss or the way they snatch somebody into a
Yep.
headlock, it's all different. It's all different there, and but I feel like as long as you can adapt and you're coachable, because I feel like one of the worst things you can do is be like, well, actually, my school does it like
Oh.
this. They're like,
Like,
we don't care.
did they even notice that they're like, oh, okay, this is how Texas does it, or they kind of know what the language of wrestling is? Like when you were working there, and people saying, oh, there's something different, even though you're doing the same move set, has there anyone that noticed like, oh, okay, I'm starting to think what Texas wrestling is like?
Um, I would say like there's like some small things, like
Okay,
like roles and stuff. They would look
right.
at it and they'd be like, oh, they're like, okay, but like
That's
there's
new.
yeah, or like they'll watch how I pull someone in for a headlock, or it's like for the like I said for the hip toss, they do it differently, and it's so it kind of takes you a second,
Right.
and at first it can kind of be like, ooh, like you're like that felt weird, but you're like, is that wrong or is that just different? And you're like, it's just different.
Okay.
And they've had that where they're like, is that wrong or is that different? And then it kind of shows both of y'all that it's like, it's the same language, it's the same movements, but just some things are different a little bit, and it kind of opens your eyes, and it kind of helps you not judge right away, and then it makes you ask more questions, and then I feel like you get to learn a lot more that way. Um, so it's always cool branching out to like other places and going to train at other places and kind of seeing how other things are worked on or done or performed.
Yeah, because like I think it's. Has there anyone? Well, this is a really weird. Well, I wouldn't say it's a weird question, but like, has any of like the younger guys reached out to you? It's like, hey, how do you do this? Like, oh, how do you approach a headlock takeover? Like, has there anyone that approached you that's like kind of younger in experience and asked like and learn to pick your brain, whether it's in during a show or like you're in the locker room and asking like, okay, how do you do this?
Yeah, I'll have like some of the newer people like get interested. Um, they always kind of ask like where am I from? Kind of how long I've been doing it, and
Okay,
um, they always try to like want to kind of get in with you or like roll around with you or like ask you kind of questions and stuff.
okay,
Um, so I get asked here and there, like it's not frequently because I'm not there a lot, but when I pop in and stuff, I feel like people are definitely curious, especially people who are like so new that they don't know, like they don't really
like a few
understand.
months in and they're trying to figure their stuff out as
Yeah,
wrestlers.
I feel like when people first come in, they're mostly like, would this gimmick work? Would this idea work? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like maybe.
It worked for me. It may not work for
I'm
you.
like, I don't know. Try your best. I'm like, but don't be upset if it doesn't work, you know, or if it gets shot down, or if you can't do it right away. Um, but yeah, it is cool there and going seeing just like young like hungry people, and just seeing people like being supportive and like helping each other up and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
By the time we have the episode out and you are moving back to New York, and um, let's just do it this way. What are some of the memories that you've really come to appreciate in Texas? Now that you're going back home and with all of the experiences that you have, what were some of those memorable moments for you living in Texas for this span of time?
The one thing I'll always cherish is all the people I've met through here, all the
Okay.
people that like have stopped to give me the time for advice. A lot of promotions that have given me an opportunity. I'm very thankful that so early on into refing, Inspire brought me on, um, to do their shows, and just getting God, because there was a few months where just as a ref, just every weekend I was doing something, and
Mm.
just a lot of the car rides. Those are truly my favorite. The car rides. Um, we just have these long, like few hour drives with like a group of people, and you just trying to kill time. That's usually where like I find the most fun. I'm just very grateful that a lot of people would like offer me rides or let me ride with them to shows, even if I was booked or
Okay.
not. Um, God, there's some cool Inspire matches I got to do. anytime I get to ref for Danny, it's always, because
Oh goodness. I was gonna ask that too. You kind of segued into it. Yeah. What was special about refing Danny's matches? And I'm like looking back at it, I'm like it's chaotic, but like looking back at it, it's like some of the best matches that you've done refing and Inspire.
yeah, it's yeah, because when I started, Danny was like about a year in, and I remember being in his gauntlet graduation, and he's always someone I've looked up to, and I've always tried to get as much advice from as I can.
Hmm.
And to just kind of see, especially with Inspire, like I did the Yuya match with him. I did a match he had with Adam not too long ago. And it's just crazy to see how different he's become. Because I'll tell him, like, hey, man, like, not going to lie, reffing is not feeling exactly how I used to feel about it. But when I
Hmm.
do his match or when I do, like, a Little Evil's match, it makes me, like, excited. And I'm like, wow, because I feel like they are some of the best here in Texas, and to definitely see like how much Danny's character has evolved and stuff like that.
Right.
It's just been like crazy, and I feel like I'm never bored in that ring, like watching like those matches. So those were always great to do. Those are
Yeah.
some of my favorite. I got to do I got to ref for Effie. That was really fun. I did Luigi and oh my god, why can't I think of his name? I'm so bad at like names.
Do you remember what he worked? Who
Danhausen.
you?
That's his. Oh god, I can't.
Okay.
It was right there, but I just kept thinking of like I was like, so I did Luigi and Danhausen, and that was really fun too. And just like, man, Texas just has like so many great people, um,
Yep.
that it's like it's so crazy. Um, and you're like, wow, this is all happening just in one state. Um, so there's a lot of stuff I'll miss and I'll cherish, but I think what kind of is like easy about like moving is like we're all wrestling, we all want to travel, so as long
Yeah.
as I'm doing my part, and like as long as my friends are doing their part, we will see each other again. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the thing that makes
Never
it,
say never.
yeah. So that makes it easier about like going, and I've been here in Texas for about 4 years, and I want to go try my hand in like another state. Just kind of throw myself in there, see how I can do, see how I can like survive, and see if it ends up doing me well, or if not, try somewhere else.
Like, what are some? And you kind of touched upon it, and going back home, and how much of the experiences that you've done in Texas, what are you looking forward to going back?
Man, the thing I'm mostly excited for is just get more matches, just wrestle more.
Okay.
That's where my passion's always been. Um, and I'm forever thankful for what I've been able to have here.
Okay.
But I am trying to leave the refing behind me, and I feel like going to New York will give me that fresh start, and I'll be there as just a wrestler. I'm going to
Hmm.
plan on leaving the refing like completely behind, and I don't regret it, you know, because like I said, I've gotten to do so many like awesome matches, but I'm so excited to just work with, like, see how another place operates, just kind of get involved, see what the scene's like there,
Right.
try to travel, to like New Jersey, like all the other areas like close by, and just kind of see how it's different from Texas, and just try to see like what it's like over there, and kind of how people think and like function over there in that like wrestling world, because I feel
Hmm.
like you know Texas is so big, it's so hard to remember that like you go to New York and you drive like 3 hours anywhere else, you're in a different state.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like you're in the Holland, you're like, oh, we're in New Jersey. What the hell?
yeah, you're like, or you're like driving, like, all right, here's Pennsylvania, but it's like you drive like 5 hours here, and you're just like, you're still in Texas. And it's like, oh my god, it's like no more Texas, please. Like, it's like it's too big. So it's like that's gonna be a weird thing to be like, oh, like I drove like 5 hours and I'm so far from New York.
You're like, why am I in Canada?
Yeah, I think where I'm at, like Canada's only like 7 hours from,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's like really weird to think about because I'm like I've drove 7 hours and still been in Texas. So to think about being a whole other country is like I can't even fathom it.
Did your horizons change, and knowing where your place in life is, did that really ever change your horizons and your perception of things now that you're going back to New York?
Well, I thought I would never move back, to be honest. I really, when I moved here, I was like, that's it. I'm moving here and I'm staying here. Um, but you know, your life changes.
Mm-hmm.
Family stuff comes up, or you just kind of get older. Because I moved here when I was 18, and I'm 25 now. And I'm like, all right, don't sleep on your shoulder, sleep on your shoulder blade, or I'm like, just sleep on your back, or I'm like, all right, don't do this, or you're gonna hurt this. But yeah, I just I never thought I would leave, and I'm like, this sucks. Because during COVID, and when my first dog was smaller, and I just had him, I was like, all right, you just come on the plane. You know, nobody wants to sit next to me because I have a big dog. So like the middle seat, nobody's sitting there already. So people would just not sit next to me, and I have a whole aisle. And I was like, all right, cool, this is great. And then as things went back to normal, and I got another dog, and I got a cat. I was
You have a
like,
family.
yeah, I was like, god damn, and I was like, I have a family in New York, and I'm like, okay, I kind of thought about it. I was like, all my friends are in wrestling. I was like, I will see them again. And I was like, I just kind of want to be close to family again, and I want to try
Right.
this scene. Like, I know like a lot of people here, so I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's just go there, try it. Um,
Shoot your shot.
and I think if it wasn't for wrestling, I don't know if I would be moving back. And that's not a negative thing at all. I I just think kind of for like what I want in my life. Um,
Hmm.
I think this is kind of like the best move for me right now. And I'm gonna visit a lot because I have a lot of friends
No,
here.
it's never say never, and that's the thing that I'm learning in the indies is people who are out of towners who are working in Texas, they wind up going back because like an example is it's KJ Orso now,
Yeah,
and it took him maybe less than a year because he worked in Corpus with TWC, and now he's in New Texas. So like like opportunities are gonna spring up. So you never know if you're gonna be if the stars align and like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be in so and so Texas, but you're back in it just even for that one weekend.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, you never know, because I was a kid who grew up, and it was very much like this is how it's going to be. This is what I'm going to
Yeah.
do, and I'm going to stick to that. And now it's like as like things happen in your life, you're kind of like more accepting to be like, okay, just because I'm going back doesn't mean that I gave up or that I couldn't make it work. It's just was like sometimes it's just like, you know what, all right, I just needed to try it to see how I would
Yeah.
like it. And I still love Austin. I love Austin so much. Um, but I kind of do miss that flow of New York a little bit, and I miss
Mm.
the transportations. we get that metro rail, but it's like Oh, brother, it don't run on
That'll be
weekends.
years from
Oh
now.
my
That'll
god.
be years from now.
I miss having a train that just goes 24/7. It's like every 15 minutes. Even the bus here is like, I get on the bus here and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it to my destination. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh. No, and I guess I'll probably, as I tend to do, talk to your younger self. Well, we'll save that for another episode. Looking back and the life that you have, what are some of those things that you're always grateful for?
You know, I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to even move here in the first place.
Mm,
Um, you know, I'm grateful. You know, I've always said this, but I'm grateful for my accident because that
okay.
was the big thing that kind of opened my eyes, to kind of and helped me mature a lot. Because I kind of, you know, before that it was hard for me to let things go. I felt like I was very like opinionated. I'm like, these are my opinions, and if you don't
Right.
agree, you're wrong, and just kind of struggled with commitment a lot and stuff like that. And then, you know, I feel like, you know, I'm like, I stop and think, I'm like, if I didn't move here, that wouldn't have happened. But then I'm like, okay, but if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened, and this wouldn't have happened, and maybe I'd be here, maybe I'd be there. So it's, you know, every step that I've taken while being here,
Right.
I'm very grateful for, because I feel like it has helped me open a lot of doors, or help me realize a lot about myself.
Hmm.
And I'm very happy I got to start here in wrestling. I'm very happy that like I got to learn under Pops, and I got to spend like 4 years at AAPW, and you know, get to, you know, drive all around Texas and just like meet so many people. And so I feel like, because I, you know, I don't know what would happen if I started there. Um, so I'm just,
But it got to where you're at
yeah.
in your point in your
So I
life.
wouldn't, you know, I would never change anything. Because I would, you know, who knows what would change, who knows what would be taken. And I feel like I've had a lot like taken, um, you know, with that accident, and then it actually gave me so much more.
Right.
So there's like certain things where I'm just like, I don't regret ever taking this step to come here. Um, and I have no regret about leaving, because at the end of the day, if I really miss it, I'll just come back.
Yeah. That is that old saying of like, if you love something, set it free, and it will come back to you, whenever that moment comes. And yeah, this is a different episode. I usually do things super structured, but I mean, it is, there is something, but I don't know. Like we've seen each other for a long time, and it's nice to have conversations like this, like just shooting the breeze.
Yeah,
And don't worry, we'll be back to our structured episodes tomorrow. This is just a one-off, so
I'm here
I'll
to
say that to
ruin
the.
it. I'm ruining it all.
Yeah, but otherwise, because it's like it's, and like when the news broke that you are moving, and it's like, first of all, I'm like, all right, let's go before we even before you even go into the ether. But um the journey that you've done, and we have like smaller conversations, and we talked about the accident and seeing where life is heading you going back home, like the stars are aligning for something great. But Texas gave you the foundation and figuring life on your own, because I did not know you were of that age. I was like, if I was 18, I was still in college. I would have been in the books, because I was like, you went how long?
Yeah, started wrestling. I moved here at 18, started wrestling at 21, and then now here I am at 25, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it all has been
Uh,
such a blur. But I remember walking to school in this heat and being like, it's fine, and now I'm like, it's not fine. I
never,
hate this heat.
never
I'm so
again.
over it. I miss my snow. I miss when it blizzards. Like, I know I'll be okay. Like, I know the worst. Like, I miss when the worst part about snowing is I just have to shovel.
That's the only thing that we can not looking forward to at that point.
Yeah, I'm like, no
Uh,
more of that. I was here for that big one, and I was like, I saw how bad snow
uh,
could ruin an apartment here in Texas, and I was like, all right, I'm
it's
no more.
time.
It's
No, but like we're just gonna go south, but and all the best to you. In all seriousness, all the best to you in what you're doing. And when Texas comes back, it will come back. It will present itself. It won't be, like it won't be some type of fluke. Like everything will align to go for you to go back in Texas, wherever that may be. Because and I'm learning this with a lot of wrestling here in Texas. Like you never know when they'll come back or when you're going to be back to Texas again. It's just a matter of when.
yeah, yeah, because for wrestling, this will always be my home,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget it. And when I do come and visit, I plan to come and hang out at the shows and stuff, and reunite with people.
Yeah.
And I plan to keep in touch. Although I'm very bad. I'm a very bad texter. I put my phone down and I start staring at something else, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then 5 hours later, I'm like, oh, oops.
It's like, oh, I forgot. It's like a day ago. No.
Yeah, like a week passed, and you're like, hey, so like, you still doing all right? Oops, my bad. I'm so sorry.
That was a month ago. No, I tease. I tease. This is great. I'll just do it for the audience. Like, you just follow Blue and myself. It's on the show notes. And yeah, this is great. Thanks for having you on.
Thank you for having me. This was really great. I'm glad we got to do this.